So, how you doing? I'm Jay Allen. I'm one of the hosts of Culture Central. I'm a freshman at Clark Atlanta University.
Hey.
My name's Deshaun. I'm one of the hosts. I'm a senior at Clark.
What's good, y'all? I'm Stefan G, host of Culture Talk, CEO of Culture Central, freshman at Clark Atlanta. Alright, so now we gotta start the show.
So here's how we gonna do this. We got a hat and we got all the topics in here. We're gonna pass this around. So we're gonna start with you. You just picking one out and then we can talk.
Oh, Kanye West.
I feel it's
Yeah, you wear shoes,
bro, that last album was heat.
Don't say that.
No,
Ye was trash.
No way.
Ye was trash.
Doesn't have a bad album.
No, you
This has to be organized.
It's one person. We're gonna do is raise our hand and then we're gonna give y'all a little opinion, not too long.
Okay, I feel like when everybody hears Kanye West, they get mad and they're like, oh, like he makes like a mockery of our race, blah 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 blah. Me personally, it's not that I side with Kanye West, but more or less, I try to look at it in a different light. Like, one, can we not try to understand that maybe he's trying to manipulate Trump versus trying to look at it as him, a black guy, wanting to be a white guy? Also, don't be mad at me, but he made a comment a while ago about the fact that slavery was a choice. I agree. So we can also but that is my point of view.
Can you explain?
So which part?
What you thought? Your name?
Okay, basically, understanding the first slavery lasted damn near 400 years.
It lasted under 300 years, just like 280 something years.
Oh.
We're talking about the United States. We're not talking about South America and overseas. We're talking about the U.S.
Let her finish her point though.
Okay, my point was that it lasted hundreds of years. It doesn't matter the specific day or whatever. My point is, slavery lasted damn near 200 or whatever years, right? And with that being said, first couple years there was no options, right? First 100 years there was really no friggin' options. So understandable. At the point where splits happened, it's very much understandable that there was multiple slaves that rebelled. Because we have a list of slaves that rebelled, right? Now we also have a list of slaves that decided to.
Push her hand down until she finish.
Yeah, like I'm trying to make sure they don't like interrupt me.
I feel like I'm just talking. Long story short, I feel like there were very much opportunities for people to rebel, but it was fear that allowed them to remain slaves. At the point where there were so many consequences that happened if they were to rebel, like, my family would die, or I would die. You know, it was the fear that they had that stopped them from rebelling, which at that point becomes a choice. Because my family's gonna die, I'm not gonna sit here and do anything. I have nowhere to go, so I'm gonna sit here. Like, this is all that I know, so I'm gonna sit here, more or less.
Before y'all get to your points, I just want to say that Kanye usually he calls himself a futuristic, so he thinks about the future. I don't think he was thinking about old slavery. I think he was thinking about new slavery. Mm-hmm. New slavery is a choice. You know, all of us in this room go to college, so we chose.
He said being a slave for 400 years, that sounds like a choice to me. Mm-hmm. That doesn't make sense. That
don't
put
words
in his man's mouth.
I'm just trying to get
Okay.
No,
okay.
I was next. So you said that you was like fear. That's a choice. Fear is a choice to fear things that are not at present and may not exist. But people being killed in front of you, that is at present. That does exist. Like being stripped from your place of living, being stripped of your identity. Yeah, you rebel, and then what happens next? You have nowhere to go. So you rebel, and then people are still probably dying around you. You might get captured. So, like, why would they? Okay, no, because we want to say as a society, as a generation today, oh, that's a choice. But half of us in here, we would not be rebelling. So you cannot speak on something that you never lived through. You cannot say that it's a choice when you've never lived through it. It's not like we were stripped from it. And like, if we strip from something now, we kind of just like, oh, damn, my teacher did this. But we not about to be up there in the teacher's office like, you did this to me and you did that to me. So you can't say people that are being hung and people that are being shot and killed and being raped, that they had a choice of just being there. Like, that doesn't happen like that. Like, they were forced to be there. And that is so disrespectful to our ancestors to say that they chose to be in that situation, because no one ever said, I want to be lynched and I want to watch my family die. Like, no one ever said anything like that. And so for Kanye to say that it was a choice, and for Kanye to be with somebody that is a racist, a misogynistic, a homophobic person, a man that hates immigration, and as an immigrant myself, that is the most disrespectful thing. And to go and be a part and like follow a man that still thinks like that and listen to his music, that is so disrespectful to all of us. People always want to just be like, oh, well, Kanye, he wants to challenge people's minds. You can challenge people's minds without being ignorant and like being disrespectful. And that's all I gotta say. Future NBA president.
Are y'all done talking about that part? Yeah. I want to bring up on the topic. Okay, so 3 hours ago, he made a tweet and said, my eyes are now wide open and now realize I've been used to spread messages I don't believe in. I'm distancing myself from politics and completely focusing on being creative. Y'all think he capping or y'all think he like...
It's to say a creative, because politics is not for him, it's not for his wife, it's not for his family, it's not for none of them. So y'all need to stay away from him.
A chance though.
He's an artist, like he's an artist, and that's another thing. Like, we give like people and like popular people too much power, because first of all, this shouldn't happen. He's an artist, but it's like the same person that called a previous president the devil. You sit here running behind a devil, and it's like it's not equaling out. Like,
we ain't got no leaders in this generation. We ain't got no artists, and when we do have them, we don't support them. Like,
they kill them.
I got 2 points to make. One, I think Kanye, he used Trump for clout. Like, he used the negativity of Trump to get him up, because y'all realize like that song he made with Lil Pump. He dropped that at the top of the peak of him being talked about. That's number one. Number two, nobody can say we ain't got no leaders, because we have people in the NBA that's actually speaking now. We got LeBron James. We got all these. We have leaders. We just don't have leaders in the. If you try to have rappers and leaders in the rap industry, that's also a cap.
We talk about outside of the music industry. That's what I'm saying.
No,
we need something.
you mean like politicians?
Their leader back then was Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali gave up his job to go because he didn't want to fight no war for his college. That's what I'm talking about today.
Losing everything for. And then when Nike took that stance with Colin, where it was like,
maybe the leagues, maybe it's a support, because I mean, I still see black people watching NFL.
I don't. I watch it. I do. So maybe it's a support.
What you guys say?
We don't support each other.
At least with Kanye, I'm kind of conflicted because I love Kanye. Kanye West is my favorite artist. So it's conflicting when he came out with that stuff. But I think that a lot of things we need to know with Kanye and that we've been doing as a generation, all you see on Twitter nowadays on social media is mental health for black men, They're saying all that stuff about mental health for men after Mac Miller died, and nobody wants to like look at the fact that Kanye said he was mentally ill a while ago. Kanye said he was bipolar, and literally people talked about it for like I think a few days and then dropped it, and then Kanye came out after that with some controversial crazy stuff, and everybody's like, oh, Kanye's all this, but Kanye's coming from a place of mental illness. Bipolar is not you're not thinking right. It's literally a disease, and nobody's really saying, oh, let's check on Kanye.
Let's get her point.
I was just gonna say, like, whose responsibility is that to take care of his mental illness though? Like, if he knows he has bipolar disorder, if he knows he has stuff going on, that's not the whole world's responsibility to just give him like a pass.
Because he's been on record saying he doesn't take his pills.
So that's his
hypocritical.
that's his
It's life,
sickness, and health. That is your job.
It's hypocritical for us to say that, we need to worry about black men's health and to not worry about black men's health at the same time.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying, but like,
It's health means just staying by his side. That don't mean actually like making this man take his like you
can't force her.
You can't force him to do nothing he don't want to do. So like,
So I got a question. Wait, hold on. So if Beyonce today wore that hat, y'all don't fucking wear it.
yeah, Beyonce would be like, yes, queen.
In that same moment, Beyonce is pro-black, so we can't even bring her in the situation.
Kanye was pro-black.
He was.
What if Drake?
But he's not around. He went to Make America Great Again.
That's what we're saying. Like, what if Beyonce went from her position now?
Alright, so we're gonna go to the next topic. We're gonna have our boy Joel, and then pick one.
No, listen, and I understand.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. So the next topic. What do you think about artists such as Tekashi 6ix9ine, XXXTentacion, Kanye, R. Kelly, and do you think their art should be separated from their real life?
Talk. I want you. I see you.
y'all, I really do not like 6ix9ine like at all. Like that's. Can we cuss? Because that dumb ass song Fifi, when that shit come on in the club, I just like this.
Bro, in parties, I swear to
God. Because like I cannot support somebody that's out here like knowingly having sex, raping underage girls, like knowingly doing that, and like even then like. Kodak, I don't even listen to Kodak no more because of that. R. Kelly, bruh, first of all, my dad been told me to stop listening to R. Kelly. Like, I was walking around singing Half on the Baby, the A Boogie version. He like, nah, you ain't singing that song. I'm like, why? He told me everything. I was like, no, like, I can't do that no more either. Like, I cannot support somebody that's out here like, I don't know. It's just like, that's never happened to me, but like, just thinking about it just angers me. Like, what possesses you to be like, oh, I don't really care, she's 14, I'm still gonna fuck her? Like, no, I cannot support somebody that thinks like that. Like, there's something mentally wrong with you, and no, music should not be separated from your personal life at all. Like, because for a lot of people, their personal life is what drive their music. Like Beyonce, Lemonade was based off her personal life. Chance the Rapper, his music was based off his personal life. J. Cole, music was based off his personal life. Your personal life makes your music. So the fact that 6ix9ine is just out here really nilly, like saying any and everything, doing any and everything, getting all the support, that just show where everybody's like mind is. Like, they don't see no problem with either. They gave me 3 years probation.
Okay, so who in here like Nicki Minaj?
That's what.
Okay, but how can y'all like Nicki Minaj if she supports her brother?
Okay, I'm gonna be honest. Y'all. Okay, I don't want my words to get twisted anyway, but at the same time, bro, I'm gonna be real with you. If my brother went out and did something that I'm still gonna love him, that's my brother. Yeah. Like, I'm not gonna, just because the rest of the world hate him, like this person I grew up with, this person, my mother birthed, this person, that's my brother. Like, at the end of the day, I'm not gonna hate him. I know he did his bad. I know he was horrible. Yeah, but I'm still gonna love my brother. It's my brother at the end of the day. It would be different. Okay,
but still, he did something wrong. You gotta see the wrong.
You're not listening. I'm saying she's still gonna love him. Yes, but she understands the ignorance and the horrible part that happened with it. Yes, you're gonna acknowledge what happened. Of course, you're not gonna put it to the wayside. But at the end of the day, she's still gonna love her brother. Like,
she's basically saying like
overdiagnosing mental health. Do we take it serious enough, especially with men and on social media?
Wait, hold on. I gotta clarify the question. Somebody talked about this before. One of my homies thought that a lot of people are just saying they're depressed because it's cool, and a lot of people aren't really going through stuff.
So it's hard to diagnose, and I understand that, but it's hard to diagnose.
They're not even filming.
Do we overdiagnose mental health? No. We don't care, but we don't care enough about it as a community. Like, it's ridiculous. Like, I know so many people in college, even here, that's depressed, and it's like, I don't even understand the concept of somebody saying they're depressed just to seem cool, because I've laid in my room with weeks on end not wanting to leave. Like, it's like, there's certain things that you don't joke about, and I think that's one of them. And as a black community, especially with black men, everybody's so bold, so proud, they don't want to say nothing. And it's like, so, no, we're not over-diagnosing it, because it's not as relevant as we're making it seem.
Can I say something? I just want to say real quick, I think it's a little bit of both, because I think that we definitely do need more mental health and training on what is mental health and how to effectively combat it, who has mental health. But I think that we do, a lot of times, younger generation definitely tries to self-diagnose and over self-diagnosis a lot. And it's not just with depression, it's with, oh, I got OCD because I need to keep my room clean. And that's not OCD. And it's like, I got anxiety because I'm a little nervous sometimes. That's not anxiety. And so we don't really know what mental health issues are and how they're defined. And so I think that's really the problem with the overdiagnosing. And we definitely do underdiagnose too in a lot of cases.
All right, so we're going to start with her and just go around and get everybody's perspective.
Oh, dang, that means I'm right.
I was gonna say, like, an angle I think a lot of people don't think about. In schools, especially with young black children, they are overdiagnosed a lot, like with the ADHD and all that, just because they don't sit still and act, how white teachers expect them to act. They are, and those type of things stay with them their entire lives. They get put in different classes. Like, that's part of the school to prison pipeline. So in that sense, it can be overdiagnosed, but like in the broader sense of what he was talking about, it is underdiagnosed and it does need more attention.
Okay, so I think it starts in the black community, because I remember when I was depressed, my mom would tell me, "Oh, you just need to pray about it." That really doesn't. I mean, I wouldn't say it doesn't help, but it's deeper than that. Like, you need to talk to someone, you need to vent, and I feel like people don't, because black people are seen as strong and proud and just they can conquer anything. Like, no, that's not true. People need help. It's like,
okay, so like the thing is, I feel like people now our age think that depression is like a trend, when really it's not, because like because like me, I was depressed. I mean, I was diagnosed with depression in 6th grade when I went through stuff with my family. But it's like, who wants to live but feel dead inside? Like, that's not fun at all. Like, you just sit in your room, you're just there, and it's like you're living but you're not at the same time. And it's like, how can you just go out on Instagram or Twitter and be like, oh, I'm depressed because I just failed a test? Like, it's just like they see it as a trend more than a mental health issue.
Something cool to say.
Yeah.
I just have 2 points. I just want to dead this concept. I seen the tweet the other day, and it says that a man cannot really express his feelings. But what I'm saying to say that is, men can be depressed too. Like, men have feelings, y'all. Men go through things, like things that sort. So like, that concept of a man always has to be strong, and a man can't show this emotion, and a man can't do this, and a man can't do that. A man can be depressed. And another point is, y'all, if you see a friend or somebody that you know and they like a little off, or they're not moving the same, not acting the same, just check up on them, because it's a lot of people, y'all. I know for a fact it's a lot of people that's like this every day, and on the inside, y'all, they are dying. And that was me. That was his squad, y'all know. That was me. Campaign week, what? I'm telling you, I ain't seen for like 5 days. I didn't sleep for 5 days, and after Miss Freshman, it took me, I swear to God, y'all, I just became happy like 2 days ago. So that's been like 2 months. And every day, y'all wouldn't even know, because
I can vouch for that, because when I first met you, it was kind of like you were trying to, your happiness was trying to intervene with it.
Yeah.
But you looked kind of like done, like saying.
Yeah, it's just check on your friends, make sure they're good. Even if it's just a little daily checkup, not even daily, because that can be a little annoying. But every other day, if you see somebody a little off, just make sure they're good. And men, if y'all going through anything, stuff like that, don't ever feel like y'all gotta hide y'all feelings for anybody in this society.
Let's get bro right here. I want to hear what you
hold on, Paul. No, you were doing it.
always talk about like as a society, like depression, mental illness, but like part of the question was about men. The only person I talked about it was Mari, and I remember like in high school, my IB Lane teacher, she made us watch this TED Talk called The Man Box, and it was basically saying how in the Black community, like like it starts off young. Like, I'm not even like don't like none of y'all take this the wrong way, but like in the Black community, it's like real prominent for men not to have a father figure in their life. So they feel like they have to be strong for their mother. They have to be the man of the house. So it starts young, and they feel as if they break down, then their mom's gonna break down, and everything's gonna be wrecked. Like that's basically what he said. And then he was like, he had like uncles and everything, and they told him like, like as a man, like not even on cap. Like even when I was growing up, my dad was like, you shouldn't cry. That's like that shows your weakness. But really, like men don't understand that you crying actually shows that you're strong. Like you're strong enough to acknowledge your feelings. You're strong enough to acknowledge the pain. Like you're strong enough to acknowledge everything. You're strong enough to want to fight through it. Like crying is you fighting through it. So like if it's any male in here like going through something, don't ever think just because you a man don't mean like you can't go through mental illness. It don't mean like you need to keep everything bottled up, because everybody has a breaking point. And yeah.
All right. Really so next, right here.
Okay. So I feel like a lot of like overdiagnosing happens because it feels like it's overdiagnosing because everybody's talking about it now. But if you really think about it, a lot of people that are struggling with mental health have been struggling with it. It's more so that like college puts you around different type of people who have gone through similar things. So now you're comfortable vocalizing things. So it feels like everybody's overdiagnosing it because this is the first time people are being transparent with it. So like when you think about like mental health in the Black community, I don't know if you guys heard, but they did a study that showed that the experience of slavery was so traumatic that the pain can be passed down through tissue in your DNA. Like that is inherently Black boy joy, and movements like those are good because it's encouraging Black men to talk about your feelings, be more transparent with them. And like I don't know about you guys, but like it's so important to reach out to like your brothers or your family members, because oftentimes they're carrying so much for you that you don't realize how much no one is caring for them. So like I don't know, like I feel like we don't overdiagnose. We're just all starting to be transparent with it, and because of it, it's overwhelming how many people are dealing with it. So instead of dealing with how overwhelming it is, we're just acting like it's not even there, which is another problem.
Let me get my guy back.
Very well said.
To answer your question, I feel like it's not overdiagnosed and not underdiagnosed. I just feel like today, like as y'all said, people think it's a trend to have mental illness. They don't know exactly what it is. They see like, they just say, I get on social media and I like say that I have mental illness. I describe it. Oh, I got the same thing going on with me. Like they don't actually know what it is. Right. So yeah, they just.
Let me get my guy back.
And a lot of, especially like, well, I can speak for myself. Like a lot of Black men, they think like just because they grew up in a different situation, like I grew up in like a full family. It's like my mom, my dad, and my two brothers, and it's like I had to be strong. And then when we lost my mom, I remember me and my brothers made a vow to be strong for my dad. So it's like, just because it's not the stereotypical, like, that don't mean like shit's still not going on.
When it comes to like mental illness and all that, as far as diagnosis goes, it's hard for me to really like, I feel like it's not really embraced in our community. And I know that because say an act of violence happens in our community, that person will be demonized. Say a white person commits an act of violence, mental illness. And so white people have come to the point where they've embraced mental illness so much that nothing they do can really be seen as morally incorrect, because the minute it's something like that, oh, they have mental illness. The little white kid running around the supermarket touching everything, yelling, making noise. I'm sorry, my son has ADHD. It's so crazy.
But a Black kid is bad.
And teachers will not try to accommodate that kid. And that kid really do got ADHD. Just exactly. So it's just we don't, and it's hard for us men because especially growing up in the hood, like you don't have no time to be vulnerable. One thing I remember business seminar teacher says, what does a man need in a woman? He needs for his thoughts and his feelings to be considered. Because we don't have that time. We don't have time for that when we were our homeboys. When all you look at media, all you look growing up is masculinity, is going out, being tough, being able to go through anything, and just showing everyone that you are strong. You do not have time to cry. You do not have time to sit there and think. Dang, I wonder how this girl feels. I want to express how I feel to this girl because I don't want this girl to think I'm weak. I want this girl to think I'm soft. All that. That's just what it's come to. At this point, say I'm going through something and I dare try to complain to somebody, I cry about it, boom, you a bitch. That's really what it's come to with us. And it's so us trying to stay away from these bitch tendencies because none of our homeboys identify with being a bitch. Our fathers don't identify with being a bitch if we have a father in our life. So boom, we just gonna internalize. We just gonna do what we see. We gonna play our sports. We gonna listen to our music where all we talk about is blowing guns, selling dope, making money because that's what a man does.
Okay, I kind of got a little follow-up question to that. And so it's kind of about that Childish Gambino video, and there was a lot of controversy about that because it was a picture of Kanye crying with Michelle Obama holding him, and he starts feeling better. And so do y'all think that it is women's responsibility, or what some women should do to shoulder that hurt and that pain? Because a lot of people would say that it was men that created that. So.
I believe
it was men that created that.
I believe that every black man needs a black woman in his life. I'm not saying it's responsibility, but I'm saying though, I realize though when I look at my life, I got all these black women. I look at Kanye's life. Once his mama died, he has no black women in his life, and we see where he at.
I'm not saying it's a black woman's responsibility, but I'm telling you nobody else can do it like a black woman. Nobody else can understand me.
I feel like the black community puts a lot of things on black women, and it's oh well, you should be doing this, you should be in the house, you should be cooking, you should be making sure the kids are straight, people the black community loves to put things on black women. So if there's a black man that's not doing what he's supposed to do as a man, the woman must be acting up, the woman must not be doing what she's supposed to be doing at home. But no, listen, let me finish. So like I said, if you put in everything on a black woman, no, it's not even our responsibility to make sure you're okay all the freaking time. To make sure food's on the table, that is not my responsibility. That is a household responsibility. So it is not her job it's not her responsibility as a black woman, as your wife, as your woman, is her responsibility to make sure that you're okay. Mm-hmm. But you shouldn't be is it the black woman's responsibility? It's not. It's a woman's responsibility. It's your woman's responsibility. It's not the woman's responsibility.
I sort of like voting. You don't have to vote. You don't have to. That's wrong. But if you want the best possible outcome,
all I want to say is, imagine everything that y'all are saying y'all feel as black men. Imagine that plus somebody else's. You get what I'm saying? Imagine dealing with everything that y'all deal with, plus having to take on everything from somebody else. And also, you can't heal somebody who doesn't want to be healed. You can't help somebody who doesn't know that they need help. You know what I'm saying? If y'all try to brush it, I feel like personally, because a lot of times I do reach out to y'all, I do try to get y'all to come and talk about things, and it's not saying y'all, but it's y'all brush it off, or it's y'all can't take a comfortable space and just be able to use that. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot of times y'all wait till it's too late. So I'm
gonna get everybody at the table right quick, and then I'm gonna get my boy back in the beginning of the show.
Okay, I feel like this goes back to what I was saying about we have to hold black men accountable, because at the same time, when I was going through something, my dad passed right before I came to college, so you can imagine how that was just all over the place. So when I was talking to my mom about it, I was talking to my family about it, they're like, oh, you should go to a therapist, and that worked. But my thing is, why is that not reciprocated for black men? Why is it my responsibility to make sure you're okay and I'm okay? It's not. Where is, and it's not and with the Michelle Obama thing and Childish Gambino, everybody was okay, why is it always the black woman's responsibility? No, he chose his side. He needs to stay there. Have Kim take care of you, because that's what she's supposed to do. Why don't we have that same energy for Kim?
You gotta look at the black women that were in his life. They all left. His mom died, and he tried to get black women. They left.
I don't think the picture was saying it was her responsibility though.
I don't think the picture was saying it was necessarily their responsibility. But I was saying,
okay, you need a hug, but
I think it was to show that women women are just naturally nurturing.
Yeah. I think it was show like it's like Michelle Obama. That's like an embodiment of
necessarily
love.
about what it showed.
And there's nothing more loving than a black woman. Not saying it's a responsibility. It's just like it's the epitome.
Yeah,
not the responsibility.
That woman
it's
been
the
doing that
epitome.
for a long time.
So, I feel like it is so disrespectful and demeaning to say that on top of everything a black woman goes through her day, it is her responsibility to make sure her man, who does not probably even want to deal with his own feelings, that she has to, it's like pulling teeth for her to get to talk about it. Because you can take water to a horse all you want, but if that horse doesn't want to go to the lake, it's not going to go there. And it's not your fault. And people can't come for you and tell you that you don't know how to deal with your cattle just because your horse didn't want to move. That's not fair. So when you think about black women, I guess as a wife, you're supposed to have a safe space with your husband where you can both have a good and conducive dialogue about your feelings. But it is not every single black woman's job to be a rehabilitation center for black men. That is not our job. That is not our job at all.
Okay, go.
No, I don't think it's the black woman's responsibility to like take care of the mental health of their man or whatever. But I do think that if you're in a relationship, everybody sleep.
Can you unlock the door, Tyrese?
Oh, shit, it's on.
Let me talk.
Yeah, I got no lead.
Let her talk.
Oh, I don't know. Okay, there you go.
Yeah, I'm not the person right now.
I was pushing the wrong. We got the button.
But we gonna edit it. You ain't.
Yeah, but now if y'all in a relationship and y'all care for each other, I think that you should always try. You should always try to communicate. It shouldn't be pulling teeth. If he can't talk, he can't talk. If she can't talk, she can't talk. But I can tell you personally that it's some things you can tell your woman that you will never be able to tell your boys or anybody else. Like you will never cry. Well, you may, but the chances that you're not gonna cry on your homeboy, like nigga, I'm going through shit. Like that's like
if you want to, it's okay.
Right.
If you
It should be normal.
I think it should be normalized, but as men crying with each other. Because if you look at maybe some decades ago, it was normal. Like a lot of the thing that I found weird when I got here. In my culture, I'm Nigerian, so we hug each other. Like that's normal. We hug each other. That's how we greet each other. We dap each other up, but we hug each other. And people down here think that's weird. And so that was really strange to me coming into a new environment. I feel like that's something that needs to be normalized because it's something that outside of Western culture is normal. Any black culture that's not in America or that's not in a Western society, that's normal. It's normal to be emotional with other men. I think that's something that needs to be normalized for black men's mental health. I feel like if you can't talk about that with your home, because women not gonna be able to understand some of the stuff that men gonna be able to understand.
I think we gotta move on. Let me get PJ. We've been trying to move on.
I just want to say that black men do not have black women's backs like black women have black men's backs. Twitter, social media, Instagram, everything, like it's always black men putting black women down all the time. Oh, I want a white woman. Oh, I want a foreign girl. Oh, I want the foreign girl, whatever. Always here. I want your hair like that.
If you ain't 80% black, I can't be 100% yours.
Yeah, if you ain't this and that, then I don't want you. And that's like, I feel like that is so like crazy for like black men. I feel like that's so crazy that black men expect black women to be behind their backs all the time, but they come and bash us and still expect us to be there, and that's not the case.
I think the best.
Alright, so for the next thing is, do y'all believe there is a such thing as black male privilege?
There's a such thing as male privilege.
Now wait a minute, I gotta hear this. Okay, so we already had this conversation.
I made this question, so my thing wasn't necessarily, black men have a specific type of privilege, but a lot of people think that because black men are black, they can't have any sort of privilege. And so my whole idea, because this is something that people like, it's a real debate on this, is that I think that men who are black can definitely have a form of privilege over certain other people, because I think that privilege is ranked.
What?
Privilege is not right.
When I'm getting drafted, I'm more likely to get drafted than a white man.
Say what she said. You can, first of all, we're not gonna rank oppression because each different type of oppression has a different effect on everybody. Whereas, no, it's not a privilege. It's not a privilege. It's not privilege to be. It's not privilege to be black in this country. It's not privilege to be a woman in this country. It's not privilege to be a lesbian in this country. It's not privilege to be poor in this country. It all has the same value.
If you're a man, you're automatically. If you're a man. If you're a black man, you're automatically going to have certain privileges over a black woman. That's
but because he's a man, though, strictly because he has a penis and not a vagina.
That's what I'm saying.
You have
y'all know the whole first part where I said it has nothing to do with being black. Right?
So then why?
People say that because black men are black, they cannot have a certain privilege over a black woman.
Okay, so I understand what you're saying, but think about it like in this sense. So let's say you have a black male, you have a black woman, but you're not thinking about all the other things that go into it that might get that black woman might get that spot where you may not. Like, let's say you're a black man and you're gay and you're poor. Let's say I'm a black woman and I'm straight and I got money. I'm gonna have more privilege than the black man.
I'm talking about if we have the exact same.
Black women get paid the least, so black men have more privilege, and that's just that.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying if we're the exact same demographic, except for if we're like the exact same, except for you're a woman, I'm a man, and we go for the same position, statistically, I'm gonna get paid more than you. Regardless.
Yeah, but that's because you're a man, not because you're a black man.
And that's what I'm saying.
But you said black
First off, I don't think just because like white privilege is like so drastically more than like a black man having privilege doesn't mean that a black man can't still have privilege. Against a white woman, no privilege. Against white people in general, no privilege. Against like what's it called? Immigrants, there's a privilege. Like illegals, there's a privilege. Between black women and black men, there's a privilege. Why? Because when you examine black women, were super sexualized from very young ages, like 13 years old, talking about you're fast because you're wearing shorts and it's 100 degrees outside. Like black women, we go through a lot because of pressures put on us by society, because black men usually want white women with big butts and big lips and big boobs, basically everything a black woman has, but just not black. Exactly, they want all the black without the black. That's basically it. So when you talk about privilege, black men are greatly fetishized by white women, so because of that, there's a lot of like I'm not saying like that's a good thing, but because of that, they have access to a lot of other things. On top of that, black men are also great sources of entertainment for white people, so because of that, that creates another level of privilege, because now when you're a black girl in an all-white school, they will treat you way different than if you're a black man in an all-white school. Now the white boys want to be you and dress like you. All the white girls want you. So it's a different type of dynamic. When you're a black girl, they're going to pick on you for your hair. And I'm not saying they won't go for the same things. Like they won't still experience their own counts of racism, but it will be drastically different. So against a black woman, his counterpart, there is definitely a privilege.
I understand now. She explained very well. I get it.
I get it now.
I get it now. Thank you. I get it.
You got privilege as a man. You got privilege, but he was looking for the intersectionality. It's like what privileges are only for a black man that a white man can have.
Okay. Yeah, like she said, like I definitely agree. I do feel like privilege is definitely ranked. And black women are at the bottom, of course. When you were talking about how you feel like a black woman who's straight has more privilege than a black man who's gay, you can see a black woman, you don't know what her sexuality is. You can see a black man, you know what his sexuality is, and he got to tell you he's gay. So he still has the privilege.
But sometimes you can tell.
I mean, you can tell, but like,
but not unless they're feminine or they do something
but still,
that
like,
shows that.
Exactly. You know how many masculine gay men there are? There's many gay men you probably don't even know about on campus. You know what I mean? But that's besides the point. Like, you cannot see somebody and think, oh, they're gay, and then that automatically is gonna, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you can't look at a resume and be like, oh, this one is gay.
Yeah, exactly. But you can tell the difference between a black woman and a black man. I feel like, and it dates, like, the privilege that black men have over black women dates back from fucking, excuse my language, freaking slavery. Like, but I don't like her fucking though. But like, okay.
No filters.
Okay. Sorry, guys. This is the last one.
Okay, please. The last one.
Yeah, let me end it with Matt.
No, don't end it with me. End it with her.
To touch on what Elisha said, so y'all know black women, we have a lot of stereotypes based upon this, like the mammy, Jezebel, the, you know what I'm saying, the welfare mama, the things of that sort. So there's a concept with black men sometimes that they think if they date outside their race, they would have a higher privilege. That makes sense. Like, have you noticed that black men that date white women tend to think they're going to be more successful because they date a white woman? So it's more so like, sometimes some of these privileges are like, like a mindset. It's like a concept, like something that they come up with. Like, you can't tell me if you dating Brittany that you're gonna get this job but you're not dating Mari. If you date Mari, you can't get that job. There's just some things that play off that, or sometimes they think, oh, since I'm messing with this person, I'm messing with that person outside of this race, or if I'm messing with a black woman, she's gonna hold me back from what I want to do. So some stuff is really just mindsets. It's not even really the privilege is really what their mental concepts about it.
Okay, we can get into the next topic. We're gonna have PJ.
Okay, so I wanted to talk about colorism and what's preference. What's the difference between preference and colorism? When saying that you have a preference of a certain woman in the black community or man.
You pop it off. You pop it off.
Let me pop it out. I feel like there is a significant difference between preference and colorism. Preference can be, I like dark skins over light skins, or I like white women over black women. That's a preference. Like, we have preferences like, no, I'm finna get there. Colorism is, I like a light skinned girl because her hair is less kinky. I like a light skinned girl because they don't bitch as much as dark skins. I like. I heard that one. And then you also have. I like white women because black bitches be doing this. And colorism is all about, you can have a preference without being colorist. You can have a preference and be colorist. It's all about your wording. Like, for me, I say, my type is dark skins, but I don't date a dark skin, but that's not the point. The point is, I can say, I prefer dark skins over light skins. I'm not going to say, I prefer dark skins over light skins because light skins, they be acting like females all the time. Like, that's colorist. When you are degrading somebody's skin tone or somebody's race, that is colorism. When you're just saying, I like this over that, that's just a preference. Like, you can say, I like broccoli over asparagus. That's a preference. But when you say, I like broccoli over asparagus because asparagus tastes like this, you're bashing it. So, yeah, I mean, it's not.
So dashing is colorism, is what she's saying.
But then the question becomes: is your preference because of based off of like stereotypes and like, you don't have to be disrespectful when you say you have a preference, but that's always it could be something in the back of your head that you're not even like conscious of that may sway your type.
If your preference is based off of colorism, it's going to come out regardless. Like, it's going to come out. Like, there's no way of.
But I feel like there's a way for you to be unconscious of your colorism. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just feel like not conscious that you're colorist. Like
I feel like it becomes like a situation where it's like you're being colorist because you have a preference. Like, that's what like that. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying, like, subconsciously that's what it is. Like, if I have a light skin and a dark skin in my face, and I decide to choose a dark skin instead, the light skin is automatically going to think it's a colorist option. They're not going to be like, oh, you just prefer me. It's are you colorist? You don't like me because my skin is lighter than his or something like that. So it's like, even if in my heart, I know I have no hatred depending on the color of your skin, it still comes off that way. For example, I can honestly say that colorism has definitely evolved since we've gotten older. When I was younger, dark skins were not it, brown skins were not it. It was all light skinned females. That was all. Social media said it, people said it, it was all over this. It was all over. As we've gotten older, I have seen it has definitely been a change. Dark skins and brown skins are definitely accepted now. But
like dark skins when
they're accepted. I'm saying more or less they're accepted more than they were when I was 12 years old and 14 years old in middle school.
Are you talking more about like within our peers or like in movies?
No, I'm talking about like.
Can I say something? What she said? I was gonna say
like light skin, crazy hair. That's what
going back to like what she said about like the subconscious type thing. I read this tweet a while ago that kind of stuck with me, and it was like, yeah, we can say that men are color, that men can be, black men are colorless because for light skinned women, but like women like in dark skinned men is like can be a preference, or a lot of people say it's a preference versus that being colorist. But it's like why though? It's like a lot of the times they're both color. A lot of times referring to dark skinned man can be. A lot of times referring to dark skinned man can be colorist because a lot of the thing with colorism is you're shown to see light skinned people as more feminine, as more ladylike, as softer, and you're seeing dark skin as harder, harsher, and more things like that. And so just like that applies to a man, or I'm gonna choose a light skin because she's more ladylike, that's gonna apply to a woman. I want dark skin because he's more manly, he's stronger. Going back to the field slave and the house slave, or the field nigger and the house nigger, like Malcolm X said.
Yikes.
All right, let me get Martin.
Okay, I'm just knocking two concepts and then yeah, whatever. Number one, I just feel like with colorism, like I feel like we should knock the concept that light skinned people don't get bashed. That makes sense. Like a lot of people be like, oh y'all don't feel like y'all. I'm the only light skinned person in my family. I get called mulatto all the time. Do I take offense to it? Yeah, a little bit I do, because it's kind of like, you knocking me because I'm light skinned, cool, like whatever. But I feel like we gotta knock the concept that light skinned people don't get bashed too. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, and I'm not gonna knock it. Yeah, like dark skinned girls get bashed for it. Like, I hate when people say, "Oh, you pretty for a dark skin." Ooh, what do you mean you're pretty for? Or somebody asked me why my hair ain't curly because I'm light skinned.
I don't know. I disagree with your point.
What?
Let me say.
Before you try to rebuttal me, can you let me finish first?
Yeah, once you finish, I was just
so, and then my second part to that was, also though, I feel like as a race, not that we failed, but we failed. Because it started with slavery, and we kind of keeping it going. It's not really, that's not something that should happen. Like, you gotta think, they separated us by color. That's something they installed in us for hatred. So it's more so like, dang, we're bashing slavery and bashing all that stuff, but yet we're carrying the same concept. So it's kind of like, at this point, it's like, we kind of doing the same thing. It's like, dang, like,
Can we allow racism to become more like?
Yeah.
We allowed it to be. Colorism is our inner racism.
But I'm like, worse because we haven't educated ourselves.
At this point, we're kind of normalizing.
We did not read the English letter. We did not read all of that stuff. I didn't know about
So my point is basically like that thing, how the light skin versus dark skin. Is colorism against light skin? I kind of disagree with that because I feel like
that's not what she's saying. That's
not what she said. Light skins be bashed. Okay.
Yes,
I agree with that.
No, she's saying that people need to get out of their mind that light skins do not get bashed. You know, in elementary school, bro,
I understand that. I was saying this is kind of for the point that like there's colorism against light skinned people, and I don't think that's true because just like what I'm saying.
You're not the person to say that though. Have you ever? Have you y'all need to settle.
What's your whole point? It's like can black people be racist to me? It's like can black people be racist? I mean,
no.
And I don't think that's true. And it's just like the same thing to me is can there be racism against white people? Can there be colorism against light skinned people? Colorism is a system that's against dark skinned people. Hold on. Let me clear. against dark skinned people.
Let me clear what he's saying. Okay, so when she just said that colorism is an inner-racism, right? Do we understand the difference between racism and prejudice?
Yes.
Okay.
Explain,
So racism is like
it's based off of power.
Power. So that's what I'm saying. So no, you're wrong about that because colorism can be for anybody.
Exactly.
Colorism is not saying, oh, you're inferior because you're dark skinned. Colorism is us going within our own community, picking out stereotypes of each side. Manifesting those.
Color, also known as colorism or shadeism, is a form of prejudice or discrimination in which people are treated differently based on the social meanings attached to skin color.
Prejudice or discrimination against individuals with a dark skin tone, typically among people of the same ethnic or racial group.
How do you know that definition is biased, though?
But colorism has always been
all I wanted to say was the same way he compared it to, black people can't be racist because we're not in that position to do that. Light skinned people, personally, me being light skinned, my own experience, we experience prejudice, but I can't necessarily say I experience colorism against me because there's certain things that I can do being light skinned that dark skinned girls can't do. It's not switched around. You can't be colorist towards me. I can experience prejudice, but it's not the same thing.
Okay. And then tacking on to that point, you also have to consider not just socially what it is, but also in industries. Whenever you see black women anywhere, it's always a light-skinned woman. You rarely see dark-skinned women. And when you do, yes, we praise dark-skinned women. I love dark-skinned women. Every single time that I see one, I am so in awe of how beautiful you are. I love it socially. We kind of have this whole dynamic with colorism, but in film, whenever there's a black girl, it's like Zendaya. And she's actually turning down roles that are meant for dark-skinned women because that's her way of fighting and combating colorism. So as a light skin, yes, you can experience your own level of prejudice, but the same thing she said, you can do certain things in being a light skin that you can't do as a dark skin. When you're going for movie roles, they're probably going to pick a light skin more. Why? Because they're closer and they align more to white beauty standards because their hair is not as coily, the texture is not as hard as, sometimes, of course, it's not in every case, it's never 100%. But this is what is the acceptable version of a black woman. A light-skinned woman. That's what it is. That is the dynamic for colorism. And as a light skin, I have experienced, I've experienced prejudice in my life. I went to school with all white people. In third grade, people calling me nigger and slave. I didn't even know what it meant in third grade. But for my friends, they experienced things that were way more serious. Because they were dark skinned, because that's a whole different level of discrimination. And then going back to what Alake was talking about with light skins being more feminine, that goes in both. For it's tall, dark, and handsome. That's what women say they want, tall, dark, and handsome. Because they like dark skinned men. Why? Because it has more of a rugged look. You're darker, you handle things better. Versus a light skin who is perceived to be more feminine in both the male and female. So when you talk about that dynamic, no one is saying you don't experience things, that we don't experience things, but it's not on the same degree as a dark-skinned person.
So I say the way we battle that is more black shows, more stuff that's meant for us. Because if you think about us, all the producers in here, when we was putting this show together, we was we want everybody. Because we're not discriminating. We black too. We understand y'all pain. So it's just you light skin, you dark skin, brown skin, you in here. You know what I'm saying? Let me get you first.
I was definitely next.
I got a question.
I'm trying.
I just feel we don't know how to uplift without putting someone else. That's where it comes from. We don't know how to celebrate without throwing somebody else.
I was just going to clear up my whole thing. I wasn't disagreeing with you because I know, I said one little thing. I wasn't disagreeing with you because I already said my piece about colorism. I was just trying to say, I think it's really two different struggles. You know what I'm saying? Dark-skinned women, they do get the short end of the stick for colorism, but also, light-skinned women, we face a lot, being light-skinned, you do face a lot of different struggles, with the fetishism, and, people expect a lot out of you and expect you to act a certain way and carry yourself a certain way, and, you know what I'm saying? It's just a different perception of, being light-skinned. You can't, it's I don't know how to get it out, but it's there's a certain expectation of how you're supposed to be because you're light-skinned.
All right, Joe.
So it sort of goes back to what Jay Allen was saying about having our own TV shows that portray and defy these stereotypes. Because if you think about it, we were really fed these stereotypes that manifest colorism since we were young. First example, Martin. He loved Gina, and we loved Gina, but Gina wasn't prettier than Pam. But yeah, whenever Martin seen Pam, scary dude. Like, he used to dog that girl, and she always had trouble with men. She was so good at her job. It was hard for her to climb up that corporate ladder, but Gina had no troubles in that area at all. All Gina got was Applehead and stuff like that. You also look at Lion King. How come is it that Scar was a lion and all that too, but because he's more evil and more dark, like he was a darker lion, living in a darker place, surrounded by darker animals, and all the light animals like were on the good side.
Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Don't forget that one.
We create our own standard of beauty and just stop letting them create it for us. Everybody and we ended with her right here. I raised mine. I'm trying. We got some more real stuff I want to get to. Okay. Yeah, we gonna. You
like you seen her lying.
I will watch this on video.
Exactly.
Shut up. Alright, now what's up?
Okay. I'm not at all am I I don't know the word I'm looking for, but not at all am I saying that light skinned women do not undergo prejudice or like things don't happen to you guys. But you're not going to tell me that you're going to sit at the table with a white person to discuss racism with them. The same way I'm not, as a brown skin, going to sit at the table and discuss colorism as a female who was degraded for being browner than every single one of you. Having someone look at me and having white children look at me and ask me if I took a shower because my skin is dark. Like, or the fact, I'm serious, I've had that happen. Like, a white girl asked me if I was dirty, then I take a shower. Like, I'm telling you, like, yeah, you guys are lighter. You might be a shade or 2 or 3 darker than a white person, but you can't discuss colorism with a brown skin or a dark skin female because it'll never be the same thing.
We need it right there. We're going to get to the next topic.
Zane, turn off the light. No, I'm not saying, I'm not coming, I'm not.
It's a little bit of a comparison.
It was just like a general statement. I'm never gonna be like, oh, I understand the same thing a dark skinned woman goes through, or I understand how dark skinned women are perceived, or like, well, yeah, you guys get talked about, well, we get talked about too. Like, I don't think that's the thing. It's just like as a light skinned woman, like, we go through our own battles, and I just feel like, and I think that's what like the light skinned women were trying to say is like we go through our own battles, and I feel like that kind of gets thrown to the side because it's not as harsh. But I wouldn't say like everybody was trying to be like, oh well, y'all go through stuff, but we go through stuff too. It's just we go through stuff.
You guys
I just feel like we acknowledge the fact that it might be worse for it's not even a might, it is worse.
I think that's what she was getting at because nobody was acknowledging the fact that you just said nobody acknowledged it. So
hey, we just want to thank y'all for coming out and doing this for us, like real talk. We put a lot of work. This is great. Hey, and at the end of the day, if you ain't talking about the culture, what you talking about?
What you talking about? We taking over for the culture, by the culture. You know what it is.